Hi everyone and welcome back for another episode of the Tech Talk SA. Before we even jump into it, I'm here with my lovely co-host again, Buhle.
Hi guys.
And as you know, I'm Joe. And you can see today I was about to say we're covered, but Buhle didn't get the memo that it's snowing, guys, in South Africa and it's cold. And you should cover up. Are you feeling warm, my sister?
I am warm.
Oh, okay.
And the studio is warm. So if I want to record here, know that it's warm.
No, you'll be warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're bracing ourselves for the cold weather, but we're so excited to be here for another episode with you guys. And per usual, we have an amazing guest. We always bring the people to do the things in the tech world for South Africa. For Africa, we actually were told we're doing this for Africa.
So we're not just South Africa.
We're very proud that we're reaching Ghana, Nigeria,
Kenya.
Yes, that this platform is going to be Tech Africa. But yeah, an amazing guest for this episode. Again, just under a decade of experience, making us look like little babies. We just arrived. Mr. Jongi Jovo, how are you doing?
Well, thank you.
How are you feeling?
After that welcome, I don't know. I also want to meet this.
Are you wondering when are they walking into the door?
Yes, I'm like, who is this person? When they give you such a big introduction, you're like, really? Is that really me?
That is you. Please accept your flowers.
Thank you.
Because you deserve them.
Thank you.
Should I give you imaginary flowers over?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
We're very privileged to have you here today with us. We have been doing something where we interview people that's starting in their career, but we also really want to reach out to people who have so much experience because we really just want to share the knowledge. That's what the podcast is all about. Being able to give new techies or people who are inspired to be in the tech space as much knowledge as possible of how the tech world is currently working.
Yeah. And as always, we always have to start from the beginning of your career.
In the beginning, right where you started.
So we'd love to know, what did you study and how did you become a BA?
Okay, so first things first, maybe you're going to edit this out. But anyway, it's Jongi Kaya Jobo.
Okay,
yes, okay.
Jongi Kaya.
For short, it's Jongi, which I'm happy with. Okay, so I didn't naturally study to become a BA. I was always good at maths. I think most of you around the table were. So I was good at maths and I was like, what can I do with maths? I went to the school psychologist who took us through all these psychometrics and they're with maths, these are the type of careers you can get into. Cool. So I then went on to study mathematics, applied mathematics and pure maths at university. I struggled through that, but persevered. Then went on to do my honors in applied mathematics. Absolutely loved it.
Well, sorry, you'll see us interject as you're chatting.
Yeah.
Please don't mind it. But what was so different between your undergrad in maths than your honors in that you loved it so much? Or was it just that you had grown to love maths?
So I think with applied maths and pure mathematics, they become vastly different, especially when you get to your third year.
Okay.
When you're in your third year, your pure mathematics becomes a lot more theoretical, and you need to be able to argue in a math-based format. Whereas with applied maths, it's a lot more applications-based.
Okay.
And I was the type of person who wants to understand the theory and then also understand how do I actually apply it.
Yes.
Okay.
As opposed to proving out theorems, So yeah. So that's how I started leaning more towards applied mathematics.
Okay.
I was about to say that he's the first person I've heard that said that he loved mathematics.
This was in high school, We were all at a point where the certain subjects that we loved in high school, then we were like, showcase, this is the one I'm going to do. Yes. Then you get to varsity and you're like...
You're humbled.
First year, you're like, okay, I'm still doing this. Second year, you're like, okay, we're still... Third year is like,
that real analysis trauma.
I can't imagine math beyond math because I've only done till math 2000, so my second year.
Yeah.
Third year where you're saying it's becoming more English in maths.
Yeah.
Exclude me.
Like I did also both pure math and applied mathematics, and I also enjoyed applied mathematics. Pure maths, trauma. I'm still recovering.
Yeah. So after that, the goal when I was studying mathematics again was to become a quant.
Okay.
It was something that I really, really wanted to do.
How did you know you want to do that?
Again, it goes back to all the psychometrics I did in high school.
Okay.
Where they sort of like push you into like not push you, but they sort of like encourage careers. If that makes it so like become an engineer, become an actuary, become a lawyer, you know. But when you actually get to varsity and you start speaking to more people, engaging in speaking to companies who come on campus, you realize there's a lot more that you can actually do with mathematics. You don't necessarily have to follow a stream of you just becoming an actuary. If you don't want to become an actuary, then what? You know? So I don't want to say a quantitative analyst is something sort of like a catch-all, but it was something that was like, okay, this is something I can really do. And I'm really keen on doing this. So that was throughout my undergraduate. Then I also got involved in certain societies on campus. It's called APSIP. APSIP.
I had that.
Yes. So as part of APSIP, I wanted to explore and understand what else can I do within the financial services with my background. Because again, when I got to third year, I realized, what am I going to do with this? If I were to work next year, what am I going to do with this? Because as I said, it becomes it's a lot less business and a lot more theory, a lot more, if you did maths, you would know. Okay. So I joined APSIP. Through APSIP, again, it's exposure. You're meeting people who are in the industry, who have walked different types of journeys. And then I identified this one lady who founded actually 274 Investment Managers. I'm not sure if we're supposed to say names, but
the name was it.
She founded 274 Investment Managers. And 274 Investment Managers, again, it's a multi-manager. So this is more in the asset management space. So I'm like, okay, this is sort of like a break, or it's a different path than becoming a quant. Because if you think back, what can I do with maths? They say you can do a lot of things, but again, it's not very specific. When you're looking for a job,
you can't do a lot of things. Would you like a lot of things?
Or I'll create my own job descriptions.
Exactly, So I don't want to say I stalked her. But I reached out with her.
Did your research?
I did my research. I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, this is who I am. I'm also studying, applied maths. I'm doing my honors. This was like my honors year now. I'm doing, it wasn't my honors, it was still undergraduate. I'm doing, applied maths and pure maths. I see she had a master's in applied maths. She was a lecturer at one point at WITS. And I was like, I'd really like to do an internship just to get a better understanding of your journey and she's like, okay, cool, call my office and, we'll take it from there. Sure. I called the office and they were like, who are you? You don't know what you are talking about. So I needed a change of I needed a new plan. So what I did was I became more involved in APSIP at UJ. I became part of the student committee, the organizing student committee, where now you have the ability to reach out to companies to say, because you're already part of the mother body, come give, I don't want to say like a careers day, but come give us a day in the life of an asset manager. And then she agreed, she came on campus, she gave a talk, it was lovely, and then cornered her again. I'm like, remember me.
Guys, do not give up. Slide into those LinkedIn DMs.
Yes.
Please.
You need to, in my day, I don't know what's happening currently, but in my day, you could not rely solely on just getting good results, okay?
Yeah.
Because you are a dime a dozen. There are other people competing for the same jobs, who are coming from I don't want to say better schools, but they're coming from better schools. So companies tend to, and this is my opinion, companies tend to have a hiring matrix. So they would go for the number one ranked varsity in the country and then down that ladder. You can Google to see what that ladder looks like across different platforms.
Yeah.
So you would find that in a lot of graduate programs, if you are aiming for a graduate program, you would find that there's a large cohort from a certain university, you know, and then it trickles down into the other. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, if you know, you know.
Definitely no.
It sounds like the times haven't changed.
It has not changed at all.
You know, so you need a way of sticking out, because if you are competing with other people who are studying at those universities and they are doing exceedingly well, they're doing more than you, you know, so they're getting top marks, but they're also part of sports fraternities. They're leading those, they're representing SA, and you think you're gonna come here with just your academic record. It's gonna be late for you. You know, so linking back to my story now, so I needed a way to get a better understanding of what can I do with the type of this academic background, this journey that I'm following. Eventually she agreed. She's like, okay, cool, you can come do an internship. It's gonna be unpaid. I'm like, happy days. Okay. But now this was now in my honors year, so for close to 6 months I was coming into the office every day, because the nice thing about honors again is that you get a lot more flexibility in terms of time. You find that in my case, my lectures were all in the morning, tutorials were on a Friday, late afternoon, you know, so you have a lot of flexibility, and because you're not being paid and they also understand, you know, they're not going to be too hard on you. So that gave me a lot more, a better understanding of what it is that I can actually do with what I'm studying. That also then helped me build my profile. In terms of I don't want to say sticking out, but you know, sticking out from everyone else. So now I wanted to get a lot more exposure into the quant space. So I'm like, the one thing that I noticed is that a lot of companies at the time, they didn't offer what do you call this, internship programs or winter schools. That's the word. Winter schools for people who are following the quant route. You know, the CAs.
Always taken care of.
Very lucky people.
It's the very traditional career in South Africa. They value their CAs.
So the CAs, so again, as I said, if you are following those professions like CA, law, you know, there's pretty, I don't want to say rigid, but there are structures in place
for you. There
are structures in place, you know, where if you're assigned in your second year, kudos to you, because your path is a lot clearer. In terms of how you are going to be moving within your career from third year honors and so you have a way of building up your CV. I got into a winter school. I got into a winter school at one of the niche banks in South Africa, one of the biggest niche banks in South Africa. Lovely experience. When again, it's a whole bunch of us. It's not a quant winter school, it's just a winter school. So you're engaging with different people studying different things. So there were CAs there were people doing law, there were people doing politics and economics, and then from that winter school they would select a few people who would form part of the graduate program. So it's not to say that they only looked at those people
at winter school.
But it was one of the channels. It was one of the channels that could lead into a possible slot into their graduate program. So at the time, as I said, I wanted to be a quant, so they got the risk people involved during that week to what's the word? I don't want to say look at us, but to observe us, because we're doing a whole lot of tasks.
Yes.
They give you tasks, they put you under pressure, and you need to perform on those tasks. And they see how do you engage with different people? How do you allow people to speak? Are you constructive in your feedback? When you receive negative criticism, how do you respond?
Yes.
So I was fortunate enough from there to get a slot in the graduate program. Then I feel like I've been talking.
No, we're loving it.
We're loving it.
We are loving it.
It's great because you're kind of also speaking on your journey, but we also went through the same process.
Yeah.
So in our heads, we're like, okay, no, we know exactly what you're talking
and
about.
things haven't really changed.
Yeah, we know the pressure of being at that winter school because you're with everyone
trying
else,
to be chosen amongst
trying to
80
stand
or 60
out.
people.
But also, to be fair, I think sometimes, and this is in retro, it also gives you an opportunity to sort of test drive the company, you know, because you have these companies that on paper, they look amazing, you know, until you get into the environment and then you realize that
The culture
you know,
not
it's not
it's not, you know, you're not a fit. And also sometimes it's a maturity thing. At that stage of your life, maybe it's just not a fit, but later on it could be a fit, whatever the case may be. So got into the graduate program and rotated within the risk function, but in a quant role. So did market risk, did counterparty credit risk, did balance sheet risk as well. I enjoyed the market risk aspect of it. So from there on, I think after the graduate program, I came to the realization that yes, I enjoy market risk, but I don't want to be a quant anymore.
Okay.
You know, which is weird.
How was that shift? Like knowing you want to be something for so long and then all of a sudden getting into the space and enjoying it, but realizing maybe it's not.
You know, I think it's better to come to that realization sooner rather than later. Because again, at the time, I was looking at, look guys, money is a motivator.
100%.
And I'm not saying that company they didn't pay, but I'm just saying money is a motivator. And when you are junior at that time, you sort of like you look at the people in your locus to try and gauge what does my future look like if I stay in this space in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, you know? And yes, we don't talk about money, okay? But you can hear through conversations that you're having that, okay?
We just with that realization. Just having that discussion.
We had that conversation.
Like just looking at the people in your circle or around you, and you can gauge where you might be. And we were just like, okay,
But the thing is, okay, based on that, sorry to move outside that, but based on that, like, how do you know that, okay, now it's the right time to leave? Or, okay.
That's such a difficult question.
Yeah, because I don't know, like, when do you know that it's the right time to leave? Or
won't that be subjective to everyone? Like, it depends on the person. Like,
I think it depends on the person, and it's also up to you to actually have the courage to leave.
Okay.
You know? So I don't think there's ever a right time. It's only when you look back you're like, actually that was the right time for me to leave, you know. And also you mustn't leave and this is something my current employer says, don't leave for money. Okay, so especially in the earlier parts of your career, if you love what you're doing, okay, learn as much as you can in that environment. Build your relationships, because again, what they said to us in our winter school is that your relationships are your currency.
100%.
And in our world, in a SA banking world, it's a very small world. Okay, you will see as you progress or stay in the space that you will typically work with more or less the same people, and you will come across the same names, even if you're moving across around different brands.
Okay.
You know, so yes, don't move for money, especially in the earlier parts of your career. Learn as much as you can, build your relationships, and also build yourself outside of your work. So that you have a better understanding of self and where you would like to, what are the things that actually fulfill you? What are the things that fill your cup? You know, so if you want to become a hardcore data scientist, okay, and the people you're surrounded by are not hardcore data scientists, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually forge ahead in that career. There's things you can do on the side. There's people you can speak to. You can build yourself in other ways for you to become that hardcore data scientist, if that's the path that you want, you know. But I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah,
when is the right time to leave?
Which is looking at me as if I want to leave.
I'm taking advantage.
Nah, don't worry. The manager is watching. Don't worry.
That's a conversation we'll have to take offline.
Yeah.
Okay, but you were saying, you got into, after you had gone into the graduate program and you had rotated around, you had realized that maybe Quant is not for, like.
Yes, so I was like, okay, this has been a dream for the longest time. And now you've come to the realization that, yes, you can do the work. Yes, you enjoy the work, but it doesn't actually fill your cup. But the thing is now you don't know what else to do. Okay. So you want to stay in banking. Okay. But you don't know what else is out there.
Yeah.
Yes, you've engaged with the teams that you would have engaged with during the days of, well, depending on the role that you're in, there's again another locus of the English is running away today. Another, you know, the people you'd send reports to, the teams that you engage with at a BAU, business as usual perspective. You know, that's the exposure that you get, but you don't truly get a sense or an understanding of what do other teams do within a bank that makes a bank a bank, you know. So you want to stay in banking, but what do they actually do? You can go on Google, you can read about it, but
doesn't really give you that.
It doesn't give you
nope,
that, you know.
And
at the time, I was very shy, you know. So people who, and I'm generalizing here, but if you've come across quants, they tend to be very, I don't want to say reclusive, but they're shy.
Introverted.
Introverted, yes. That's
100%.
Introverted. They don't really like communicate or expressing themselves outside of, you know.
The work they're doing.
Yes, outside of the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
And that was something that I actually wanted to build up within myself. It's one of the things that I realized that I need to, if you want to grow yourself, as they say, you know, relationships are your currency. If you're afraid to speak to these people, how are you going to grow this relationship?
Sure. I wish I had that problem. I had the opposite. When I was studying stats, my lecturers asked me, am I not too much to be like a quant or a data scientist? Because they were like, the personality type you were talking about, I didn't fit that mold at all. I was always, they were like, you are the most talkative, outgoing statistician that's come through this class. And I was like, but I made it work. I made it work for me eventually. Well, not eventually, I'm still making it work because of what you're saying right now. When you get to the corporate space, you realize it's not just about, I have this theoretical and academic knowledge. It's also about your people connections and being able to talk to people, being able to network. I wish when I was studying, someone told me how important networking is, because that's going to be like one of your biggest strengths. Like I didn't know that. So I had the opposite problem to you, but it's not a problem anymore.
But I feel like that had really helped you.
Yeah,
it did help you because we the introverted ones.
And I have a big mouth. How I landed on all the projects. I want work.
So I don't know, where were we? It's like on a date. Where were we?
I don't know if you asked that when you're on a date. So where were we? I feel like you lost your train of thought while you were talking to me. Like, what happened that you don't remember what we were talking about? Okay, but anyway, we're sidetracking. You were saying that your connections were going to be really important besides being on a serious introverted quant role, and you wanted to explore that side.
So it was something I identified within myself, and I wanted to stay in banking, and also I wanted to develop I wanted to become more technical, and also, so stay in banking, more technical, but also be a lot more expressive, you know, be able to communicate with people.
Okay.
And then I not realized, because when you're in varsity, again, guys, you apply to everywhere.
Everywhere.
You apply to everywhere.
A job is a job.
You apply everywhere. You go to all these companies will come to tell you about themselves, and with my current employer, I just remember the guy just coming through, and I'm like, he looks so suave.
Yes, they do.
He looks so suave, and he's like, he's the COO.
They do. I'm thinking about it now.
And I'm like, my guy, I want to do what he does, So I put in my application, and then, funny enough, I think like 3 weeks later, I got a call. They're like, hey, we saw your application. We'd like you to come in for an interview. I'm like, okay, cool. So at the time I was studying for my level 1 FRM. Sure. I'm like, how am I going to slot this in?
Yes.
But I'm like, you know what, I'll make it work. Went through there, we did a formal, like a written assessment. I was like, yo, it was tough. I was off, but the nice thing, when I walked in, I was the only person writing at the time. Okay. The assessment. So they put me into the CEO's office.
Oh, wow.
So when I walked in, I was like, damn. I'm like, damn.
That's tactical. You see the CEO office like, oh, I'll be there. I want this.
Amazing. And I was like, okay. I wrote my assessment. I was like, okay, cool. Immediately after that, the HR lady, very nice team, came through, and then was just a conversation just like this, asking me the why. Why do you want to become a consultant? Yes. Why do you want to join us? And I gave my reasons at the time. Yeah. And I think at the time my reasons were valid. Then landed the role. From there on, I had never really looked back. Okay. So I landed the role, and it gave me the opportunity actually to develop this part of me that I had always wanted to develop. The ability to engage with people, the ability to connect, the ability to understand what are people's requirements, and actually solving for their problems. And
let me tell you guys one thing, Jonge Kaya does that so well, even outside of work. We're just chatting to him, you're like, okay, now I get it. You understand people. One day we'll all be there.
So that was the journey.
Okay. And now you're in a role where you do majority BA work.
Yes.
Like Bushle said. So would you be able to tell us what a business analyst is, firstly?
So a business analyst is, and again, this is my opinion.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't want to dumb it down, but I'm going to dumb it down
as
to
much
say
as
that
you can.
A business analyst is someone who is a bridge between business and technology.
Okay.
Okay. So when we say technology is IT,
yes.
That entire space. So when you're a BA, you need to understand how business thinks, how they speak, and you also need to understand how tech people speak and you then are that bridge in between. So business will say, this is our requirement. You need to understand. So they'll tell you very shorthand, this is our requirement, blah, 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 blah. But you need to understand, the language, because people will speak in shorthand, thinking you understand the context, and then again, think you understand. So you need to understand the context, and then when your devs or your tech side are speaking to you, there's a certain language or a certain way that they engage.
Yes.
So you also need to be able to translate whatever they're saying, that messaging, back into business and vice versa.
Okay, so you basically. I was going to ask you what the difference between a project manager and a BA is, but you explained it so great. Like I literally understand.
Yeah.
They are necessarily handling the projects, and you're literally the bridge, the middle person
yes.
between business and technologists.
Yes. So again, my opinion, project manager, as the name says, they manage a project.
Yes.
So typically you would have a requirement from business. So business would say, hey, there's a lot of manual processes currently in my world. Maybe there's an audit finding or whatever the case may be. business will define what the problem statement. A project manager needs to then take that problem statement and then extrapolate it to say that, okay, this is what
extrapolate
to build out. Okay, they need to build out to say that this is the problem statement. Okay, what is the solve? Okay, so business will tell you what we want to do. You want to reduce manual processes.
Okay.
They don't know how they're going to reduce those manual processes, but manual processes are an issue. It's bogging down, people, the staff at work. People are not being efficient. They are copying and pasting a lot of spreadsheets before they actually need to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So we want to reduce all of that. So you would then get a project manager. Once that problem statement has been defined, a project manager would then take that problem statement, engage with various stakeholders to say, in terms of a solve, how do we go about solving this? And it's an engagement with business again to say that, okay, this is how we plan on solving this. It could be an implementation of a system. It could be automation. It could be whatever the case may be. So once you've identified the how, you then need to start finding the resources to say that, okay, we need a BA, we need a developer, we need this, we need that, who are going to do certain or follow certain streams within this project. So you are, as a project manager, again, in my opinion, you're sort of like the architect.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have the architect, then you bring your resources who are going to look at the plan and then work according to that plan.
Okay. And I feel like I'm not giving you a chance. No. Okay.
Don't worry.
And you know how you said like there, and we agreed as well, in your personal opinion, we spoke about how there was like stereotypical type of skills a quant would have. Yeah. Is there a stereotypical type of skill set, soft and hard, that we would see BAs typically have now?
So I think it's, you get different types of BAs.
Okay.
So a developer, in my opinion, is a type of BA.
Okay.
You get technical BAs, you get functional BAs. I'm leaning more towards the functional side. Okay. So technical BA is just in the tech. They understand the technology.
Yes.
They are the ones coding or whatever the case may be. But from a skill set perspective, you do need to arm yourself at least with the basics or a foundation. And the foundation that may or may not know, foundation would be SQL. So have an understanding of SQL, have an understanding of Power BI, have an understanding of Python, another understanding of, I don't want to say Java.
That's a large foundation. Wow.
No, but it's a build-up,
That's a large foundation, because if you think about it, some people only have like some jobs only require maybe half of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I said, it's a foundation.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of like certificate courses that you can do.
Yeah.
There's Coursera, there's Udemy, you can do it in your time, but it's just for you to have that understanding to say that if someone, if you are in a conversation with business and they are telling you what their issues are, and you need to know firsthand if that can be solved. If
it actually, can there be a solution
can you
to what you're asking?
Is the actual technical solution so that if when you're having the conversation with your developers as well, because you are the bridge, you need to translate the English wording into something something more technical for your developers to actually understand.
Yeah, and you don't want to go with unrealistic things to either side.
Yes.
To business and to the devs.
Correct. Okay. Yes. And also I'm not saying devs do this, but if they're yanking you around, you need to say, no. Not possible. This task is not going to take 3 weeks. You can do this in 2 days.
I love that. I'm not saying that devs do that. We all know we're but guilty.
Bruh, I was about to say, it'll be like, what is your time limit? Okay, you'll be done with this in 2 hours. But you're like, nah, it's a week.
Difficult dev behavior.
It's a good thing your manager's watching.
also knows exactly. He also has that exact knowledge we're talking about, where you can say, "Listen, I know this doesn't take
it doesn't exactly
this long, so please have it done." But I know how long it takes to pull from a SQL database. Come on, guys, to get this done. So I understand why that foundation is super important. That knowledge now,
and also depending on the type of projects that you land up on. Okay, they may require you to actually tap into those skills for you to. So, for example, if you are you're struggling with the English yourself, so you understand what business is trying to do. Your devs are busy because they work according to a pipeline of work. So you want to do a quick POC. So you have access to all the databases. You know, if you need to build out a dashboard, you can do a quick POC on Power BI and then show your devs to say that, okay, well, let me show you Dave to say business from a business perspective. Is my understanding correct? And say, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And when you go to your devs, you say, guys, this is what business is looking for. You heard them say it's an easier conversation. And they're like, okay, cool. And you also have an understanding of all the hurdles that you needed to may or may needed to jump through for you to be able to produce this POC for them.
Yeah, so you see the blockers that they might go through in advance.
Exactly.
Oh, it's a lot more. It's a lot more than I thought it was. And we interact with BAs, but they don't really explain the job they do. Like, I think they just don't want everyone to feel like, because it sounds like it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
But you'd hear them like downplay it so much in the office. Like, it will just be
I think a lot of people actually, I think a lot of people downplay the work that they do. I think if you have the ability to just explain what it is that you do effectively, kudos to you. But a lot of people, they do downplay what they do. They'll make it seem like, you're just pushing paper from one end to the other until you actually do one task with them and you're like,
I'm good. And so do you think necessarily, because of the skills you've spoken about, that this is something you would study for to be a BA? Because it really sounds like something that's niche and you can't really do a degree and then you come out and you say, okay, I can be a BA now.
I mean, there are qualifications that can lead you into that stream. So again, if you are studying things like computer science, things like information systems, information technology, you will end up you can end up in an IT world.
Okay.
Again, if you're studying engineering, mathematics, and I say mathematics again, applied math, stats, actuarial science, and when you're studying those type of qualifications, there's certain foundational learning that you do. You will do a bit of computer science, you'll do R, you will do, Python, so by the time you leave, you can code.
Yes.
As an example. So if you can code, it becomes easier for you to learn another language.
Yeah.
So it becomes easier for you to learn SQL because you know what a for loop is. It's easier do you know what I'm saying?
You think that way,
Exactly. But there are also other from what I've seen, there are also other streams or channels that you can follow. So again, if you studied accounting as an example, actually, which is great, it's a great example because the company that I work for currently, we work with a lot of CAs. Okay, so there's CAs, and then the company will upskill you in this technical requirement. So SQL, again, as I said, foundational, SQL, Power BI, Excel. I don't think accountants need any more Excel.
I don't think anyone needs any more.
But you heard me during the week, I was like, I need to upskill on my Excel skills because
we're always learning on Excel. I won't lie to you.
Corporates use Excel more than you would ever think.
So they upskill you in that tech stack.
Yeah.
So that when you get onto client and you now are executing on, because you understand the finance, you now also understand the technology
side.
So you become a very sharp tool. More like you become a very sharp tool. So there are, as I said, there are various streams. You don't necessarily just study to become a BA. There are streams that you can study to become a BA, but there are also other streams where you can end up becoming a BA.
Okay. I understand.
And this is not even related to being a BI, it's just based on what you just said, do you think it's easier, in your personal opinion, to go from the CA and upskilled in tech, or to go from tech and upskilled in finance to be able to be like the perfect middle, well, not perfect, but a good middle person between business if you're in the financial space? Like, is it difficult for a techie to come and try and learn, like do your FRM or things like that, so that you can get more of a finance knowledge? Like when we stepped in, I know Pushley always speaks about she never done anything financial before. So it was tough for her to adjust to working in a financial space. But a CA would understand finance perfectly, and then they just have to do the tech stuff. So which one would you say? It's your personal opinion. It's more tough.
So I mean, look, I was in the same conundrum.
Yes, you'd have been.
I was in the same conundrum, and this is what prompted me to do, at the time, FRM, my level 1. So I did that, and then again, quickly realized that I don't want to be a quant or a risk manager. But again, the problem still stayed. And I don't want to say you kind of feel, not less than, but you feel like, there's another side that you really don't know, and you can become a lot more. So I wanted to find something that was going to bridge that gap, something that was going to bridge my technical know-how with the finance part of it, So that's when I then did my master's. And again, I wanted something, and for me, I wanted something that was in-person taught.
Okay.
So there are other qualifications where you can teach yourself, you can follow YouTube, you can do CFA, FRM, lovely stuff. But I wanted someone to I wanted to sit in a classroom and someone to teach me, because I learn better than that, better that way. So then I did my master's in financial economics, and it bridged that gap in a lot of ways for me. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
No, I just wanted to know which one you think might be tougher. Because people always say, like, a lot of the comments we get is it's really difficult to upskill in tech and like to stay on the tech path. But I think I'm putting my own thing. I think it will be extremely difficult for techies to upskill in like
finance,
or whatever specific space, because we think in such a tech way. And like you're saying, our thing is just to solve. Devs, we just give us a problem, we'll solve it, or give us, and I want to sit and I want to figure this problem out, which is great to be great problem solvers. But sometimes we don't think about the business side. We don't think about, like, if you're in the financial space, you don't think about the finance side, or if you're in the medical space, you don't really think about, how does this flow into the bigger picture?
So I think it's on a case by case basis. I think it's really person dependent.
Okay.
I think it's really person dependent. You do get people who are, as I said, you get CAs who can learn the tech, but you also get CAs who can't learn the tech.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It really is on a case by case basis. I think from a tech transitioning to a business setup, that's where that bridge. If you are really technical, then become a BA, like functional BA, because you start understanding the language. But it's also up to you to actually do the work.
Identify that you want to,
do the work. So if you want to do the work, you've identified that this is a gap, you want to better understand, how do I solve for business? So that's when you start developing that relationship with business to understand their world. So once you start understanding their world, you can then marry it to your reality and become a lot more effective.
Okay. No, that answers it. And I feel like it was a tough question. You answered it perfectly. So and I get you, it is person dependent, because I also had to think about that. You had to think about that. So it would depend on the person that's doing it individually.
Bulhle, do you have any questions?
I think we are reaching our last question.
I
really
wanted to close off by asking Chungi something that is that you touched on. I don't know if you also want to ask a question.
Okay, no, ask.
No, mine is just really on the finding what fills your cup sense. It's more of on the less on your career side, but just I think as young people we really do struggle with finding ourselves, because we kind of want to fit in this generation and doing all the things that everyone else does, but also finding what fills your cup. So I just want to know, like, what are some things that you did that found that worked for you? I know everyone is different and it might not work for different people, but I think it would be great if people just understood, people including me, the best way for you to be able to help yourself find what fills your cup.
Okay, that is the tough question. I think that's the toughest question today. Again, I'm going to say it's person to person dependent. So you need to identify what are your drivers.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you see yourself, not just career wise, like what do you, if you were to picture in your mind, 10 years from now, what does your world look like? You know, what does your life look like? You know, are you seeing yourself as being a mother, having a career, having a relationship, or whatever the case may be, you know? And you then need to start mapping out, how do I get there? This is where I'm at. How do I get there? And I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's a good thing to have a goal and to work towards that goal. But you also need to, that at the time that you make that goal, by the time you reach it, your priorities could have changed.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the things that drove you at 21 are not the same things that they're going to drive you at 27.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And the things, your wants, your needs are completely different. So now that end goal, it then shifts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So coming full circle to try to answer your question, I think again it's understanding what are your drivers.
Yeah.
You know, what are the things that make you happy? And that's why I can't answer that question for you.
Yeah, you can't.
Know?
Yeah.
What are the things that make you happy? What do you see your life? How do you want your life to turn out? And then just trying to understand, mapping out a journey of how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
From where you are. I mean, again, if your goal is very specific, you say, I want to be the head of the department by
this side, yeah.
in 10 years time, then, you know, you need to do whatever you need to do to understand what that journey is going to look like. You know, you may not get there, or you may get there. You may end up there. But if you say, as I said, in 10 years time, I want to be, you know, content in my career. I want to have a healthy home work balance and the type of home that you want, you know, then you start planting those seeds in different aspects of your life, if I'm making sense, because it's not just career focused.
Yes.
It's more holistic. So if you want to be closer to your God,
yes,
you know, you start planting that seed and growing in that journey. If you want to grow or develop better relationships or connections, you start investing, you know, in those connections or planting in that aspect.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think what prompted me to ask that question is when you start working, everyone looks like they have all their stuff figured out.
That is so true.
And you get there and you're like, whoa, how did everyone figure everything out? And I'm like, I sit there and I'm like, okay, did they 10 years ago also were sitting thinking, whoa, how did everyone start like figuring stuff out? Or I'm just so unprepared, I don't know what's going on like with life and how to map out your career. Like, and it's also I think it's very tough sometimes to think 10 years in advance because you're like, sure, so many things could happen and then it's changed. But I agree with what you're saying. I love that advice.
And
I'm
also,
definitely going to use it.
Sorry to break you with
No.
Also use the tools that are at your disposal. So, I mean, most of our employers will have these type of psychological services or whatever, where you want to have a conversation to say, you know, outside of work, you know, I want to grow. This is what I'm looking to become or whatever. And they can help you structure those conversations and help you to better understand what it is that you need to do to get there.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Regarding using your tools, guys, from university, please go to your career phase. When those companies come, please go network and don't be like me and go for stationaries.
Yes, please network us. And I mean, shout out to
go for stationery is wild.
I mean, shout out to my university at the time. They also had companies coming through to help you prepare for interviews.
Oh wow!
So interview prep, you know, I mean, those sessions, to be fair, they were around like exam season.
So not everyone is utilizing them.
So not everyone would take up the opportunity, but use those services. It will set you apart.
Yeah. And on top of that, we're also reiterating that slide on those LinkedIn DMs. If you see someone and you're like, I want to be that person, approach that person, see how can you get there, and don't just sit and chill.
Yes, and approach with purpose, guys. Please.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Don't just randomly DM, say hi.
Be very intentional on the messages you want to put through, and don't want to be like that person, but would like to see yourself in a similar space because you're different. So yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, and our favorite question.
Yeah, you can ask Jongi.
Everyone's favorite question. So who is Jongi outside being a BA and being tech and then being in finance?
Who am I?
So some of our guests say they like to travel, like they are fond of traveling. We had one who loved gadgets, so he said he spent all of his money on he'd get paid by tech gadgets.
I think for me, I've been wanting to as I said, I've been wanting to grow in certain aspects of my life. I've been wanting to do a lot more hiking. I've been wanting to expose myself a lot more in terms of art and culture. So what I've done is I've immersed myself in, funny because it's free, thank the Lord, with getting involved again with my company.
Yes.
And they have those type of societies.
Oh, that's lovely.
Or clubs, they call them
Yes.
clubs. So I'm part of those clubs. I'm also actively involved in one of those clubs in setting up some of those functions and engagements where you develop yourself outside of your career, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You touch on other passions. And the nice thing about a club is that it's similarly like-minded people.
Yes. So everybody in there wants to grow in like arts and culture,
exactly.
or loves hiking or trying to love
yes,
hiking. Buhle loves
yes.
hiking. She forces us to hike every chance
You
she gets.
should, guys. I mean, this year we went to the Drakensberg just before it snowed.
Oh, that's
So
my
when are we
goal.
going?
I want to go to Drakensberg.
It was a beautiful hike. 6 hours. It was cold.
Sure.
But yeah, it was a beautiful hike.
What an experience. One day.
I can miss me.
You don't love it that much.
I heard coldness. I was like, I'm not entering there.
No, but the Drakensberg is hot in summer.
So this was just before I think just before the first bout of snow. So not this weekend.
Yes.
It was when May, June, somewhere there. In June.
I remember it snowed
yes,
there as
just
well.
before, just before that, it was a weekend before it actually snowed. So it was cold, but with SA winters, sometimes it's hot, and then it's cold, then it's you experience everything.
Do you know Eastern Cape winter?
Yes. So I was born in the Eastern Cape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was born in the Eastern Cape, and then we subsequently the family moved to Joburg. Okay. So I'm familiar with Eastern Cape winters.
Is it cold?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know how
I've never been to Eastern Cape in winter.
It's not. I think it also depends which part of the Eastern Cape. Yeah. So I was like, so I was born in Mthatha.
Okay.
So raised in Mthatha, schooled in Mthatha, earlier parts of my life. So there were times where you would be standing in the school field. You're just wearing a jersey. The sun is out, but you can see the mountains, and in the mountains the snow. So it's a give and take. Yeah, I think cool. Joburg, the Highveld winters are brutal in my opinion.
No, for me,
it's not winter.
For me, Joburg is
the sun could be out, clear day, but it's absolutely freezing.
Seriously, I don't feel the coldness in Joburg.
You know where you need to go, my friend? You need to go to KwaZulu-Natal. That we have the best winters because it's like tropical. It's still warm. It's always warm. Warm rains, warm. Everything is warm, except for when it gets cold. And it gets cold, but that's South Africa. Okay, so thank you very much, Jongi Kaya, for being here with us today. Your knowledge is unfound. I think I took a lot away as well, especially. But yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Tech Talk SA. We're privileged to have you guys keep coming back and watching it. For all the positive feedback, we're watching all the comments. Thank you very, very much. And don't forget to
like, share, subscribe, and click on that notification button
so you can see when the next episodes are coming.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.